You're tuned into Fork Podcast. This week's guest is Vlad Levitt, stand-up comedian and podcaster. He shares his humorous take on Ukrainian stereotypes and shares his views on success and self-improvement.
Your job is not to, make it big or whatever. If you're already thinking about that, you're missing the point of what you're doing right now. You should focus on what you should be doing right now. And what you should be doing right now is getting better. That's with everything, I think.
You can have a drink if you want, Vlad.
Maybe not at the start. Introduction. No one should be holding anything.
Welcome to Fork Podcast. I'm Sean Chris Lewis, your host, and today I'm sitting in with Vlad Levitt. He is a fellow podcaster and a stand-up comedian, all-around awesome dude who, again, it seems to be a recurring theme on my podcast, I have not known for very long, maybe 2 weeks or so.
2 weeks tops, yeah. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
I'm glad you're here, Vlad. You can have a sip of that water if you like. Just get hydrated. You're fighting a little bit of a cold or something, right?
Yeah, shout out to my coworker for getting me sick. Told me I'm not contagious. I hope he's listening. You're full of lies. So I don't think I'm that sick. I'm fighting it off, but... Yeah.
And Tim Hortons coffee, that's very Canadian, eh?
Yeah.
You just recently became Canadian, didn't you?
Yeah, last year. Yeah, it took me 18 years.
Celebrating with Tim Hortons.
Yeah, I mean, I was drinking it before, like maybe Canadian Club. I'll start drinking that.
But it doesn't get more Canadian than Tim Hortons, eh?
Yeah.
What were when you first came to Canada, what were some of the very, like, the typical things of Canada that you noticed right off the bat when you got here?
Man, I was 10 years old. I didn't have any...
There were no preconceived
notions or prejudices. Man, squirrels, I still get excited when I see squirrels. That's the main thing. I've been late to, like, important things because there was a squirrel outside my window, and I still get excited.
That's the thing, right? We take squirrels for granted here. When I'm often out for a run on Mount Royal, we have this beautiful mountain in the middle of Montreal, and I'm out there running, and there's just tourists like taking pictures of squirrels. Yeah. And I'm like, wow, they are a thing. Yeah,
I mean, in reality, it's just like rats with pretty tails, but I'm very recently, I remember maybe like a year and a half ago, tops, I had an important meeting. I had to be somewhere, and I was literally late because there was a squirrel outside my window, and it has happened more than once. I still get excited. So that was the main thing. I thought, oh my God, there are going to be squirrels, and there were. Other than that, I was 10. I just cared about Ninja Turtles and seeing cool animals. I didn't have...
Wait, you're from Ukraine, correct?
Yeah.
I'm asking, I don't know that. I know you're from Ukraine. But
it's written on the board right
It's
there.
written Ukraine. On my cheat board in the back. I have 3 cheats. Vlad Levitt, Ukraine.
Yeah.
That's simply because I can't remember. I have a bit of ADD and dyslexia in Ukraine. I was struggling with that. As I said, I was coming up with a Bulgaria, Bolivia. For some reason, bees were in my head.
Also shows how little we've known each other, that you have to remember my name and where I'm from.
Well, listen, so now being from Ukraine, you guys don't have squirrels or anything that resembles a squirrel? I
know some regions have squirrels. They're out there, but in terms of animals that you see as often in squirrels, it's like cats and dogs, but it's not as there are no tourists taking pictures of stray dogs in Ukraine. But there are some squirrels out there in the mountains, I guess. No, they don't live in the mountains. I'm gonna sound so stupid this whole episode. All my stupidity comes out when I'm recording
squirrels
something.
Live in the mountains of the Ukraine.
Man, please don't quote me on that.
And they're huge because, Chernobyl had this effect.
Yeah, 2 tails and neck muscles.
Growing up in Ukraine, is Chernobyl a thing for you guys? Is that something that's pervasive still? Or?
Man, everyone brings it up.
You heard it here first on Fork Podcast, Chernobyl, ladies and gentlemen.
Man, everyone asks me if I've been there. It's not a touristy spot. There's no French cafes out there. It's a thing happened there. It was pretty tragic. And everyone's like, oh, did you go to Chernobyl? I don't see the point. It's oh, you went to Japan. Did you hang out in Fukushima or whatever? No.
Yeah, but in fairness, on YouTube and stuff, they say some of the world's scariest places or mysterious places, and inevitably Chernobyl is that place. They show those electric bumper cars, it's all full of dry autumn leaves, and they put creepy music on, and something's going down here, you know?
Yeah. Well, any abandoned place is scary, I guess. But,
Yeah.
I don't know. I never I care about Chernobyl, but I've never had like a fascination with it. Everyone's now that there's like the famous show Chernobyl. I think everyone's.
Oh
watching
no,
that.
I don't know that.
I don't know if it's on Netflix or HBO. Everyone asks me if I watch it. I'm like, no, I don't like.
Okay, what's to watch? What's it up? We know how it ends, so like
I mean,
it's not very exciting.
Yeah. I don't know like where they're going with that one.
It was like watching Titanic, right? Like you love the characters, but you know how it ends, so you're trying not to get attached to any of the characters.
Yeah, unless you like don't know your history very well. Maybe you're like, oh my god, it sinks. Maybe you just think it's like a cool rom-com and everyone is fine at the end. I have most movies. I don't watch movies at all. Like I'm not a big movie guy, and I saw Fight Club. Like last year.
That's a personal favorite. I love that movie.
Yeah, it's a great movie.
I don't like to fight, but like I like the movie Fight Club.
Yeah. But everyone like referenced the ending. I'm gonna spoil it here for another idiot like myself who hasn't watched it. Like the fact that he like finds out it's the same guy at the end. Like there were so many references to that and like.
Wait a second. What?
Oh, you saw it, but you just didn't get. Yeah, it's the same guy. Yeah. But like there were so many references to that on TV, and I never put one and one together, and it was still like a shocker for me. I was like, "Oh my god, it's the same guy."
Yeah.
So maybe there's a person who recently saw Titanic. It was like, "Oh my god, it sinks." Jesus.
Yeah. Well, Fight Club, all for that. We were just actually talking about fighting coming over here, but that Montreal is full of traffic and. I was saying how I don't have even the slightest bit of road rage and I don't get angry. And we talked about having that friend who you drive around town with who's like yelling out the windows at people and making
just psychotic. Like, that guy, he will like I said, like he would, there's like a green light, people are walking, he would stop too abruptly in front of them and he would get mad at them being scared, which is so psychotic. Like he'll be like, what, they not know that I'm going to stop? And I'm like, no, they don't. They have no idea who you are. You're just a stranger driving a giant metal thing that can kill them.
Hey, just coming back from Ukraine, how's the driving there? How do the people drive?
I know there's, it's not like a touristy attraction there, but the car crashes, there's a lot of those. Like it's something they're known for. I just mean like it's just one of those like. I think I might be wrong, but I read somewhere there are like 10,000 deaths from car crashes every year.
Whoa.
It's pretty crazy. People drive like they go in opposite lanes. Like I'll take a cab. For some reason you trust cab drivers. You think they know what they're doing. So I don't know, it would be, I was fine, but they would go from one lane to the other to go around cars. People are flying on the roads there. They don't get mad though.
They don't.
If they drove that way here, like people would be fuming here if they saw if they drove here the way they drive in Ukraine. But it's crazy. Everyone's fine. Everyone knows. I didn't see a single case of road rage.
You're kidding.
And I saw so many opportunities for road rage when I was there.
Wow, I feel shocked. I feel like it should be like like more chaos than with the driving chaos, and then people, it seems linked to people just losing their temper, getting
well, I mean, also like I'm saying it from a perspective like these rose-colored glasses of a tourist. I'm like, everything is great here, and then who knows, maybe there are cases, but I know everyone is flying and everyone is fine. No one's yelling. There's no aggression.
What else did you notice back home about Ukraine different from here? What's
Oh man, I'm not even a vegetarian. I was talking about that on my podcast, but if you're a vegetarian, it's like you're a Jehovah's Witness there. Like you're just people are like you're bothering them by the fact that you're not.
We still love the Jehovah's Witnesses.
I adore the Jehovah's Witness. I'm just like using cliches. Yeah. Please no blogs or angry letters. No, man, like people would either like look at me with a lot of confusion. My family members, they try to be understanding, they're like, I don't know why you need understanding for that, but they're like, as though like I came out of the closet. They're like, oh man, we still love you. It's okay that you don't eat meat that much. But other like people would openly look at me like at the restaurant. I try to order. I asked the waitress, I was like, "Do you have anything that is filling?" She suggested like beef and pork, and I told her I don't eat beef or pork. Like like I was saying, like she looked as though I insulted her family. Like the look on her face, she was like openly disgusted. She was like, "You don't eat meat? Like that's why." She would even like started asking me why. I had to like defend myself at a restaurant, but.
Do you eat Borch? Is that Borch a thing?
I eat vegetarian Borch, which is a sin in my country.
Yeah. Borch is like one of your traditional dishes, right?
Yeah, I eat it like, man, if there's a stereotype that Ukrainians eat Borch a lot, I'm not helping the stereotype. I eat it like 3 times a week at least.
Really?
Yeah.
That's,
I love it. Still not tired of it. I love it.
Oh, so there's some. So we're getting into the stereotypes of Ukraine. How about I was reading before I had you on work podcast, trying to remember obviously Ukraine and your name. Yeah. I was doing a little reading, which I do from time to time. On occasion, I've been known to read. And actually, I was YouTubing, and I preferred to watch videos. And they said the top 10 things that you don't know about Ukraine.
Yeah.
And I don't remember the top 10, but I remember a few. And funny enough, one of them was they said that Ukrainians don't smile much. And I was going over the times in my head. I have to confess, when I was watching this, I was going over all the times that I met you at your work, because our paths cross at your place of work. And I said, was he smiling at me? I couldn't recall if you had
You're making me self-conscious. Like, I think I was smiling. Am I not good at it?
Maybe because you came here when you were 10, so you're not grumpy.
Yeah.
Like, are people grumpy there, or are they?
No, man. Everyone is cool there. And by the way, again, I'm not helping stereotypes. When I got my citizenship, my friends came to support, and they were taking pictures. And my friend who was taking the pictures, she said, "Oh, I looked miserable. It looked like they were taking citizenship away from me and not giving it." Like,
there it is.
I was like, I'm happy inside. I don't know. I thought I was like, I know I wasn't smiling, but I didn't think I looked depressed. Like, I thought I was like, it was a great moment. She was like, every picture of you is, especially there was like from a distance, she was in the audience, and like it looked like some, like when they catch some mafia guy, some like Eastern European mafia guy, and they have like secret shots of him while he's doing something, like when he comes out, like that's what I look like. Didn't look happy at all, but I was really happy.
So there it is. Maybe there was something to it.
But no, people there were smiling quite a bit, and they were laughing. That's the thing I noticed there. People have a great time. I think it's not a Canadian thing. Definitely not, because when you go to small cities in Canada, there is that communal thing. Neighbors get together, they laugh, they party. But here in Montreal, like, people live. They have a neighbor they've been living next to 10 years. They don't even know who that person is.
Dude, I must agree with you 100%. On my street where I live, where this podcast is being shot live, I have neighbors. I'm like one of the only guys who sits out on my front porch in the summertime, and people walk. I'm looking at them, waiting for them to look at me. I'm looking. They're walking. Yeah. I'm looking. They pass right by.
Exactly. Yeah. And I noticed that too.
What is happening here?
They don't want to make eye contact. I don't think it's a kind of like a Canada versus Ukraine
it's a Montreal thing.
Montrealers thing.
They're
not
friendly.
Thing. Yeah. Toronto too. Let's say. I think Toronto probably is going to be that way too.
Yeah.
But there was cool is like the time that I spent there. I love that communal thing. People get together. They just knock on the neighbor's door, or like they call them up. They're like, let's hang out. So, and then they weren't sitting there frowning, they're having a great time. Everyone's smiling, everyone's laughing. There's a communal thing. I loved it.
Okay, so that's strike one on the things. Well, I mean, one of the things that he did say about Ukraine was Borch. So so that's one check in the box. He was right. Borch is heavily consumed. Yeah. The people do smile, but he says they don't. So that's strike one. Yeah. Speaking of heavy consumption, he said that you know where I'm going with this, right?
Yeah.
Whoa.
Well, people people do the drink a lot there, but
did you say do the drink?
Sorry,
what did you say? Do the drink or did
no? They
you say
do drink a lot.
Okay.
Did I? It's another thing about Ukrainians. We can't speak properly. I'm just gonna. If I'm going down, my whole country is going down with me. No, they do drink, but they don't get drunk. Like they have an insane tolerance. I think maybe that's why they drink more. Man, if your mom can outdrink you, like there's a problem, you know?
Do they drink like lean and stuff? Is that?
They drink moonshine. Sometimes.
Yeah, moonshine.
It's like 70%.
Yeah.
Like, and they drink straight vodka. Like, no lie, like a healthy, male, like a 26-year-old or someone my age, they can down like a bottle of vodka by themselves during the evening.
Incredible.
And they don't.
Then they're smiling.
Sorry?
Then the smiles are coming out.
Man, then they're definitely smiling or fighting. It's either or. But the family would get together and we were just pounding shots, and it's one after the other, and no one's drunk. And I've had it's like 2 p.m. I've had like 12 shots. Like I'm holding out to the table. Everyone's just like, yeah, and then we're gonna do this, we're gonna do that. They're like kids running around
doing like push-up competitions.
Yeah. But yeah, people don't really get drunk there. And also like people don't drink. I mean, I'm sure alcohol is a problem there because wherever there's like poverty, there is, alcohol problems. But people I didn't meet that many people that just drink a lot, like throughout the day, let's say.
Yeah.
But when they get together, they drink a lot, like a lot.
Do you guys have big family gatherings? Is that like
Yeah. Well, the thing though that I found touching is even I left when I was 10 years old. So I came back, I was 28. And I finally celebrated my birthday again with my family when I was 28. But the 17 years before that, my birthday, the whole family got together and celebrated without me for 17 years in a row, which I found very touching. Yeah. And then when I got there, it was like they were receiving the Queen of England. It was like just a giant table. There were like 30, 40 people. It was beautiful. Yeah. So the family thing and like family friends there is very, very, very important.
You probably noticed that here, right? As I mean, you've been here since you're 10, but when you go back to these places that are a little more traditional, I notice that with my wife when we go and visit her family in Venezuela. That's big gatherings and the table's long, and you got to put the card table at the end of the kitchen table and get folding chairs. Here, man, my family gatherings is like crickets, man. Like it's like it's almost like nobody likes each other or something, and they just see each other once a year. I can say that because they don't listen to my podcast and they don't show much interest in what I do. So
well, I think the countries that are less well off, I think the less you have, the more you appreciate what you do have. So I think they're, if the country economically is struggling, there's not that many opportunities, then if you look around, the things that are always going to be there is your family, your friends. So I think people really appreciate the value of that. Whereas here, you're busy, you're saying, I want to get this job, I want the promotion, I want this house, I want this car. You kind of get distracted about it's a cliche to talk about the materialistic things, but I think you do get distracted by that a little bit. You're always chasing something, and you kind of, because you have the opportunity, or there is the likelihood that you can achieve something more financially here, materialistically, I think you're kind of always drawn to think about what you can get in the future instead of stopping and kind of appreciate what you have in the moment.
That's actually a great point.
Yeah.
We seem terrible at figuring out where not draw the line, because drawing the line means stopping, right? We're always in this perpetual state of growing and pushing and expansion and, looking at what other people are doing, comparing to what we have. It's, is that something you have some exposure to the other way of doing things when you go back home and you see that it's grounding to be back in family and things like that, but your life is here. Do you find that you're somebody who's like pushing constantly, always wanting more? Or
Yeah. But I mean, it can be positive as well, but I think you just have to stop yourself and kind of appreciate where you are in the moment. or like the progress you've made. Because I am someone that, like I can't just like, for example, sit down and watch a movie. I say, but I could be doing this, I could be doing that. I'm always trying to achieve something more. And I feel like the thing that helped me in going to Ukraine is to say, is to reminded me that like, oh, you should also stop and see where you were a year ago, where you were 2 years ago, the things that you already do have, and kind of, chase your goals with a more kind of clear mind instead of just this obsessive tunnel vision thinking.
Is your family back home proud of you? Like, you become Canadian now, and you're...
Yeah. Well, that's it. That's because everyone's like, oh, you have this, you have that. Like, oh, you've made, you're doing the internet stuff. That's great. You're pushing yourself. And it's kind of you kind of go, yeah, listen, like I'm not on television. Like I've appeared on, I think, CTV once or twice, just for a few seconds.
What were you doing on there?
I went, I was chosen, like, that Comedy Nest is like the main comedy club here. Every year they have a thing called Young Guns. It's the best up and coming comedians that year. And when the thing just started, I think it was the second edition, I was one of the Young Guns. So it was kind of like, there was a little CTV piece there. It was cool. It felt great. But
can you get a clip of that? That's not on your YouTube page, right?
No. I think I didn't save it, and it's already gone.
You were filming the TV screen when it was on, and you.
Yeah, but those moments, like those tiny things, like it's something you can appreciate too, because you're so focused. You're like, oh, I wanna have an HBO special, or I want to have a Netflix special. I want this or that, and then the reality is, if you're small victories, you have your things that are also not necessarily shouldn't be dependent on getting validation from like these external sources, like, achieving something like, oh, you got a show, or this person said you did something great. It's kind of like a person like, oh, I'm so much better than before. I wasn't comfortable with, before I started doing stand-up, I was terrified of performing publicly. I had insane stage fright. And then you can kind of go back and go say, oh man, like I'm so comfortable on stage now. I've performed in front of 200 people and feel great. And it kind of, when I went back to Ukraine, my family was like, oh, so you've performed for like hundreds of people sometimes. That's great. Oh, you did this, you did that. So you kind of go, oh yeah, I did. Yeah, I did do a lot of cool stuff, because you're so focused on getting to this arbitrary point, because your path can change so many times during whatever you're doing, you're trying to achieve. So you're kind of too focused on that, and you get completely distracted from the things that you should, be proud of yourself of and congratulate yourself for.
Yeah, one of the reasons but I think the primary reason that I reached out to you when I first met you at your work, we were introduced by a common friend, John Hamilton of Mo Cafe.
Shout out, best coffee.
Not Tim Hortons.
Not this thing. There's Mo Cafe in there.
That's Canadian, eh? So that's Tim Hortons, and Mo Cafe is a Haitian brand coffee. He's bringing it back on the market. So he introduced us, and he said, Vlad, he does a podcast, and he's a stand-up comedian. I'm like, I got to say, I was impressed right away, because whether you are big or will be big, it didn't matter to me. I'm just really impressed by people who want to do something different and stick their neck out on the line and go after it. Because in the beginning, no matter what, right, we start something and we're not good at things when we first start, right? And we don't know. We know we're leaving ourselves to be judged, or like, we're like, that was crap, you still have to put it out. And so like, okay, stand-up comedian, perfect example. There's no sort of like ambiguous territory around that. You get up on stage and people either laugh or they don't laugh.
Yeah.
It's like, it is a black and white deal, right? It's like they laugh or they don't laugh.
Yeah.
They don't laugh, you bombed as a comedian. Is that how it goes? Like,
I'm sorry?
If they don't laugh,
Yeah.
You bombed.
Yeah.
You were not, because I go to see a comedian, right?
Yeah. And I mean, you didn't do your job if they didn't laugh, obviously. So it's not only about making the audience laugh, I find, and again, this is my subjective opinion as well, but I think it's not just about making them laugh, it's about having some sort of connection and them relating. And not because the reality, like a fart is funny. Like if I get on stage, I put the mic to my, to my ass and I just fart, people can laugh.
It is funny though.
It is funny. I was even saying that it's kind of sad that no matter what I do in comedy, I will never be as universally funny as a fart. Like that's just, no matter what I do, it's never going to surpass a fart. But
you're right, because
yes, if I do that, just to say that if I did that, people would laugh, maybe. But
there are these great comedians that I think people feel that we should be laughing from beginning to end. But if you think of, say, George Carlin, he's very political, he's very philosophical. Well, he's passed away, but when he would perform, it wasn't always funny. He would create this great connection to the audience. Yeah. And then there'd be parts that were very funny, but the humor was surrounded with like deep insights into society and how people are. So I think
I don't think it's even about having like a crazy, important message even, but it's just if you can draw the audience into your world a little bit, if you can just express exactly what you're feeling and they can see themselves in that, or they can see how you think that way, if that makes sense. Yeah. So if you can create some sort of connection, I think that's as equally important.
When did you start stand-up?
I think on and off I've been doing it for like 8 years. So.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Were you like a class clown? Were you a guy who liked to...
No, and it's funny how...
Did you only start smiling when you came to Canada, or like where did you leave your frown back in the Ukraine?
Man, listen, I never was like I was a little bit maybe for a couple of years in high school, but it's funny how people that know me from say work or people that don't know me that well, they would never in a million years would have guessed that I'm a comic. A lot of comics are like that, where they're just sort of not that funny off stage. It's just, I don't know why, but I'm not full of energy. You were telling me that even in my podcast, I'm a little bit monotone. In a good way. I hope you said it in a good way.
Yeah, it was in a good way. It was like, it was just some insight into your demeanor. You know?
Yeah. So, I mean...
But that's very Ukrainian.
Yeah.
Apparently.
Yeah. If you want to check out my podcast, it's just me sitting frowning for
Vlad,
like half an hour.
Not Vlad Talks. We don't have a name for your podcast.
No, I did find a name.
Oh, you did?
It's No One's Impressed with Vlad Levitt.
No one. I'll put that in the show notes. Obviously, no one's impressed with Vlad Levitt.
The title is No One's Impressed, but then it's kind of
why no one's. What made you come up with that name?
Well, first of all, I like that it's kind of a little vague enough. Where is the title me saying that no one's impressed with me, or am I not impressed with other people? So I like the little bit of vagueness in there, and also like I thought of that because like I post my clips online, and mostly I get very good feedback, but there will always be one or two people who try to like deconstruct whatever I'm saying and give it more layers to like discredit me almost. It's like I'm not a magician. I'm just trying to be funny. Like there's nothing to be, but they'll say, you say like this one guy posted a clip about me eating too much chicken in Ukraine, whatever, like about how my family found out that I eat chicken. So I had chicken like 3 times a day for 6 weeks. And then he's like, so you say that, you start off saying that you eat chicken and you're mad that people give you chicken, and he just like started going in this whole spiel, and it always ends with, well, if you were funny, because I always say like, which I shouldn't even comment, but I always say like, well, the joke is this, I'm not, and those are not statements first of all, and the joke is that I eat too much chicken, and always ends with someone saying, well, if you were a little bit funnier, maybe you would have understood the joke, like, and it's just like. It's always like one or two people who really want to show me that they're not impressed with what I'm doing. And it kind of made me think of the title.
Oh, interesting. Yeah. Actually, that's very interesting.
Yeah, so they helped me come up with the title.
So the haters created the title, right? That's
But I just find it funny. It's just, I feel like no matter what we do, there are always going to be people that are unimpressed. And I kind of not embrace it as though like I'm, it affects me, and I use my things that hurt me in a powerful way. But I just find it funny. There are always going to be people that will always dislike what you do.
Vlad, it is so easy to just sit on the sidelines and judge what other people are doing.
I feel like the people that do that, because honestly, I don't mind if someone said, I really didn't enjoy that. Honestly, it doesn't affect me. I don't care. Like, I know there are always going to be people that aren't going to like your stuff. But when the people write these paragraphs and they try to explain to you why you're not funny or why you're not interesting or why you're not motivating.
Going the extra mile for Vlad.
Going the extra mile. It's like, I think it comes from kind of feeling like you want to do that or you want to be doing something with your life too, something like that, and you're not doing it, and you get bitter.
Secretly, they want to be movie producers or something.
Yeah, they want to do something, and they're not doing it, and then they get bitter about other people who are actually doing the things they wish they did.
Yeah, and I found that doing the podcast was the biggest challenge for me, because you're taking something from zero, like no listeners, no viewers. You put things out on YouTube, and it's just like it's crickets,
Yeah.
Then you put stuff out on iTunes, and there's crickets there, and you get a few scatterings of that. You get somebody on your podcast, you're promoting them to try, and they don't even do a Facebook post that they were on a podcast, and you're like, dude, well, why don't you want to promote yourself at least,
Yeah.
And then it's a flopper. You spent time trying to get some action going on, and sometimes the people you even interview don't show as much interest in their own success, and I find that kind of confusing sometimes.
Yeah.
Put it out there, man. Go for it. Just try. Put it out there, man. So people don't like you. They think you're stupid. They don't at least you're trying to shake the tree, man, and see what.
Yeah. We were talking about that earlier. It's, I feel like people talk too much and they just don't do enough. And, it's true. You just got to put yourself out there. It's scary, but I don't know about you, but I like doing things that make me uncomfortable. And then I like looking back and saying, oh, this thing used to terrify me. And I feel totally indifferent now, or in the sense of this doesn't affect me at all.
Sometimes even
and it feels
empowered,
great.
right?
Yeah, it feels really empowering to do that. But yeah, just people, I don't know. I think a lot of people for example, like you mentioned, the people that go on the podcast and then they don't do anything really, is they like the feeling of that they're doing something, but there's no action behind it.
Yeah, and it's almost
but the feeling sometimes is good enough for people. They don't realize they're not doing anything. I met so many quote unquote entrepreneurs that are posting these, their Facebook says entrepreneur or whatever, and they're making these posts about, oh, you got to grow. And they're quoting Ty Lopez and they're all their pictures of me, of them. They'll be psychotic a little bit, but pictures of them, in a suit and tie saying it's whatever I'm going to do. So they put out this whole image, and then you kind of go, well, what are you doing? Because I know some of those people, and I'm like, well, you're doing a regular 9 to 5. You have your project, which you say you have your project, but you're doing nothing about it. And I feel like for some people, what's kind of just the feedback of feeling like they're an entrepreneur is kind of is good enough, because you get the reaction from people. They go, oh man, he's a big shot. He's doing things oh, by the way, guys, I'm going to be on this podcast about being because I'm this entrepreneur and this person wants to interview me. For them, it's good enough. They get the feedback, and that feedback feels good. It's kind of like if I say, yeah, I'm gonna make this. I'm telling my friends, I'm gonna make this painting. It's gonna be these angels, and it's gonna be an oil painting. These angels on these horses, and they're shooting this laser thing, and people go, oh my god, that sounds amazing. I'm like, yeah, I have it all figured out. Then I tell another person, and that reaction of them going, oh my god, that's amazing. It's validating enough, and then you have to stop and go, well, where's the painting? Is there a hoof on there? Can I even do a sketch? But that thing itself is kind of
talk is cheap, right? It is really that thing that it's easy. The human animal, we speak really easily, and you need to demonstrate through action, because in action is where the work is, right? Yeah. We talk with very little energy consumption, but man, the action part is big. And I do. Actually, that was a really good point. I think that it's also, I think one of the things that also happens is now you've given the person the real opportunity to deliver the message, but they're shy and they're embarrassed because they think they didn't do a good job. And that is the first nut to crack, right? Getting past yourself, getting over your own insecurities and shyness to say that, here I am, guys. Like, here I am. Yeah. This is me on the podcast. Like it or not, this is me. Go check it out. Go give me a like or like support me somehow. Yeah. And it's hard to ask that of people, right?
And you're also your worst critic often. So you think you did a terrible job because you only see the mistakes. Like with my second episode that I put out, I was like, when I tell my friends to check out the podcast, I'm like, check out the first episode. It's interesting. The second episode, not so much. I mean, the third one's going to be good. And then I had a bunch of friends who saw the second one. They're like, yo, I really like the second one. It was really good. So you're your own worst critic, and you think that, you're always going to think that it's not as good as it actually is. But even then, it doesn't even matter. Like it doesn't matter if you're not good, because like when I do shows, I do open mics, and there's a comic who just started doing stand-up, and he asked me for words of advice, like his first time doing stand-up. He said, should I do this? Should I do that? What should I keep in mind? And I always say, you're almost guaranteed to be good. And it's also guaranteed that if you keep doing it, you're going to realize that it doesn't matter that you weren't good. Mm-hmm. Like you're putting so much pressure on yourself, but no one cares. No, it just doesn't matter until you're recognized, which even then you should still stay true to yourself and not consider the opinions of others too much. But until you get to a certain point, it really doesn't matter what you were doing before. Mm-hmm. Like the people that get obsessed about how good they are. And I mean, I see myself in there a little bit too, like with a podcast. It's kind of, I started feeling it too. I'm like, I forgot that I can feel, vulnerable again, trying to put out, because in stand-up, I already got comfortable. So I can, even if I bomb, let's say doing new material, I don't care. But I forgot that, when I start something new, I have this thing where I get really uncomfortable about the things that I put out there. And I had to remind myself again that it just doesn't matter. Like you're going to be good maybe like on episode 158. That's when it's going to kick off. Until then, your job is to get through those bad episodes to get to the good one. That's your job. Your job is not to, make it big or whatever. If you're already thinking about that, kind of you're missing the point of what you're doing right now. You should focus on what you should be doing right now. And what you should be doing right now is getting better. That's with everything, I think. It's kind of like, I don't remember whose quote is that, but someone said, like, my pencil has 20,000 bad drawings, and it's my job to get through those drawings to get to the good ones. Like, that's my job. And your job is, if it's in stand-up, or I feel like now in podcasts, is just you have a certain number of bad things that you're going to do, like bad episodes or bad whatever. And your job is to get through them. And where it really starts is on that episode where it starts becoming good enough for you to make something out of it.
It also seems that when people get a little bit more popular, even your past stuff, which nobody would have liked in the beginning, suddenly you look back at your old stuff and it starts getting likes because, now you're great. Yeah. And even your old stuff's great because people say, hey, you should go back and check them when they started off. Yeah. They weren't that good, but you go back and you're watching it because they're now famous and you want to see what they did before. Yeah. But you even love what they did before, but nobody gave it a single glance.
A lot of it's about image too. Like when someone gets qualified, he's like, for example, a great comic. Then retrospectively, everything he did is great. It's just how we work.
All right. Well, Vlad Levitt, thanks so much for being on Fork Podcast, and looking forward. I'll put all of your details in the show notes so people can check you out. And when are you at the Comedy Nest in Montreal next? When?
Man, I should have been prepared. And, I'm
You could
out
have put it
there.
on my cheat note sign over
Yeah, I
here.
should have next to Vlad Levitt in Ukraine. There should have been a date on there. Just if you sign up to my Instagram, if you follow, usually I post.
Yeah, that'll be there.
Yeah.
All right, man. Well, Vlad, wish you an awesome day, and you guys out there, awesome day as well.
Thanks for having me. Man.
Thanks, man.
It was really fun.